Carl here. Thanks for tuning in again to the Real Agent Podcast. Today I'm joined by John Stack from Barry Plant in Blackburn. John, how are you today?
Very well, thank you, Carl. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Mate, thanks very much for joining us on the show. Very excited to share your story. I only know little bits and pieces of it from where you and I have interacted before, and obviously having seen you on stage previously as well. So very excited to share that with the audience today.
Thank you, Carl. Looking forward to it.
So, John, let's get started by talking about how you got started and why you got started in real estate.
Yeah, sure. Well, Carl, look, it was something that I'd always wanted to enter the industry, and I always wanted to go into sales. I felt that that real estate was the pinnacle, and I was a bit young and a bit raw, obviously coming out of high school. My parents advised me the best thing was to embark on a degree, head to university, do a bit of travel. So I did that. I came back to Melbourne and was like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? I knocked on the door of my director here at Barry Plant and said, how do I get into the industry? He said, pretty simple. Well, you start with me next week, go and buy a suit, a computer, and here we are, nearly 10 years later.
Fantastic. And so you've been there for nearly 10 years, like you say. What sort of inspired you to stay with Barry Plant? Did you sort of just connect with the brand, or was it the loyalty of being there for that long of a time? Or
I think it's a combination of all those factors, Carl. It's obviously great relationships that I've built with my director here, within the team, certainly within the Barry Plant Group, some terrific people, some really great agents to be able to bounce off, some great salespeople, directors writing great numbers. So there's always that inspiration. But I think probably the key is that there's an association out in the marketplace with not only the brand, but also with the agent. So I've built a good profile, John Stack at Barry Plant, and that's been consistent along the journey. I've seen many agents, Carl, over the years that have chopped and changed. They have to start at the beginning. I was able to keep that consistency and build that profile.
Yeah, it's so interesting you touch on consistency there of the agents that I've interviewed that have been successful and have done great things. Consistency is always a common theme. If anyone sort of says, success leaves clues, consistency is definitely one of those clues. You see that time and time again.
100%.
So in terms of, you've obviously built up the business, your business over the last 9 or 10 years. Can we wrap some numbers around that? Like, whereabouts are you as a business unit? Like, how many properties are you selling? What sort of numbers are you writing?
So consistently over the last couple of financial years, Carl, we've been sitting around that sort of 1.5 mark. We're selling anywhere sort of around that 80 plus properties per financial year. Obviously listing numbers just in excess of that. And we're dominated down here in the city of Whitehorse in Blackburn as an auction market. So it's certainly our focus. So consistently, Carl, around that 1.5 mark. I've been writing in excess of $1 million for the last 4 financial years. Yeah, and we've already done that this financial year, on track hopefully to hit around that sort of 1.4-1.5 mark again.
That's fantastic, and I think there's always been a lot of talk and a lot of hype around being that $1 million agent and sort of using that term. Yeah. What do you do from a team perspective in order to achieve that? Because I understand it's certainly not a one-man rodeo, right? You've got a team with you.
So Carl, look, over the years I've experimented with up to 3 assistants, and I had them doing all different roles, etc. But since about December 2015, it's just been Monica Dean and I, and we've just been running her and I as a sales unit, and we've got some outstanding assistants with administration at an office level that relieves a lot of that pressure, which really gets us to focus on the key ingredients, where I'm taking care of a lot of the chasing, the prospecting, the listing, vendor management, and Monica she's brilliant and focuses a lot of her time and energy around the buyer, so buyer management. So it's just the 2 of us, and we're doing pretty good figures. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic for such a small team to be able to write those kind of numbers. That's really impressive. How central is Monica to your business success? Like, how important has it been having an assistant for what's that, nearly 18 months now, that you have that sort of, again, consistency. How important is she to your business?
Look, I think it's vital, to have the, once again, we talk about consistency, Carl, and that's what it is. It's being able to manage your business and also, once again, create some expectations out in the marketplace. You see a lot of agents that are chopping and changing PAs. I don't think that works. They like to be able to see the same people out there working collectively, unified as a team. The male-female combo works extremely well. So having Monica is probably one of the key reasons to be able to do the numbers we do. As I mentioned earlier, I've had 2-3 assistants at one time, but we're writing the same figures between the two of us as we were with 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about the person that you've got, but also the structure around that. I've learned a lot through the mistakes that I've made, Carl. Yep. And what we've been able to do is tighten up our systems and processes to allow us to run a little bit leaner, but certainly more structured and disciplined around our activities on a daily basis.
Excellent. So how did you find Monica? Did you look for somebody with real estate experience? Did you look for someone particularly with PA type experience, or did you sort of take someone that was completely raw? Like, what was your process for finding that key person?
So look, I've run assistants for the last sort of 5 or 6 years, Carl. So I knew what I wanted. I wanted someone that was experienced in the world. Monica's in her mid-30s. She's local. Her kids go to the local school. She understands the area, being a resident in the city of Whitehorse and Mitcham for 15 years. So understands how it works. She's got a bit of a network. Had come from a recruitment background, so was terrific with people. The rest we can teach. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted the right person that we could teach those systems and processes along the journey. But it's all about the people that you get, what you can teach them, what to say, the scripts, the dialogues. That's easy.
Yeah, awesome. And so we obviously don't want to start getting publicly into what Monica's earning and things like that, but how did you keep Monica motivated, and what incentive schemes do you have in place? Like, is there a commission structure for her as well, or is it kind of just a base salary and that's it? How do you work that?
Well, obviously, without going to the finer details, Carl, look, Monica's remunerated the same as all of us, based on performance as well. She's there is a base wage, of course, but then she's remunerated based on the listings and the sales that we bring into the team. If she's generating business off her own accord through meeting buyers, converting them through open for inspections, etc., then there's a higher percentage that's paid. If she's just managing and helping, well, the percentage is not as high. But she's remunerated off every deal, and so she should be, because without her input into each transaction, we wouldn't be able to get the quality of service, or I believe more importantly, the end result for the client.
Yeah, awesome, John. So it's interesting that you've been able to achieve the same or better results with a single assistant rather than a team, because I think there's always been a lot of talk about, have a buyer's agent and have a prospecting PA and have an admin PA and things like that. So it's interesting that you've been able to sort of find that formula that sort of worked for you for a single person. What are some of the mistakes or lessons that you learned along the way from having that multiple team members?
There were several mistakes that we learned along the journey, Carl. But look, I think the positive out of that is it's put us in a position today where Monica and I are working cohesively, and it's we're able to do a lot more work between the two of us than when it was spread out. What I found when I had multiple team members, there wasn't enough workload there for everyone, which meant that I was quite often trying to manage people's diaries, trying to get their KPIs up. The motivation levels weren't there. If we're a little bit low on stock, then it became a little bit of friction within the team about who's managing which property, who's going to which opens, who's doing callbacks. Whereas we're able to systemize it with key roles between the two of us, obviously with some strong admin support as well, which enables us to do it, but it just works a lot better. My focus is more around finding the business, building the relationships, than actually managing the people within the team.
Yeah, so it's refocusing you on the task of listing and selling properly rather than managing team members, HR, sick leave, all those kind of headaches that go with a bigger team, I guess.
Correct. Absolutely.
And obviously, it's led to some pretty significant success. You mentioned there, obviously, being in the top 3 in Barry Plant. I believe in the previous Rate My Agent Awards, you were in the top 10 nationally, right? Is that right?
Yeah, top 10 in Australia, Carl. Yeah, so look, we've been lucky enough to be recognised within the industry, and certainly within the Barry Plant Group. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, we've consistently always been in the top 3. Which is a terrific achievement, given that we've got 1,000 sales agents, 83 offices. It's a really huge network in Victoria. So it's something we're proud of. And look, if we keep getting the results, it means that we're achieving great things for our vendors.
Absolutely, and I think I interviewed Mark from Rate My Agent just last week, and it's not the only measure of success. Of course, it's just one of the many awards that are out there. But to be rated in the top 10, basically industry wide, like I know they've got at least 22,000 agents on their system. So to reach the top 10 of that network Australia wide is a massive achievement.
Yeah, Carl. Well, obviously, the way that those awards are structured, you need to be doing the deals to be able to get the recommendations. And that's not a true measure necessarily of success, but certainly it's a measure that your clients are taking the time to at least give you a testimonial on that platform. So look, we take that as we are really proud of the achievement, because the best form of marketing is the word of mouth, and that's where a lot of my business comes from. Repeat and referral clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, it's a great segue into what marketing you guys do. What are some of the things that are sort of non-negotiable for you guys? Like, are you a big advocate of the phone, or are you sort of more video marketing? Like, what are some of the things that you've found have the biggest impact on growing your business?
Look, I think for any agent that's out there wanting to grow their business, Carl, there's not one form of prospecting or marketing that's going to turn you into $1 million agent. What I've learned and what I tell my team and agents that I speak with, you've got to have a really strong combination of all these factors. You've got to be strong on the phones. You've got to have a detailed marketing plan. So, video falls into that. Once a month, I've got a market update where we try and get actively involved in the community. I interview local businesses. I interview people specific with property that's going to be of interest, to the local community. We target that through Facebook ads as well. We pump it out through email, SMS. If anyone wants to have a look at them, jump on my Facebook page, John Stack, Barry Plant, Blackburn, and you can see our monthly videos there. They get we had 35 comments, about 20 shares for last month, Carl. So that's starting to get some traction. We're in the letterbox. We boost all our listings online through Facebook as well with our just listed and invitations through opens, as well as hitting the letterbox. I'm on the phones consistently to my pipeline sellers. There's newsletters. There's market reports that go out. There's weekly emails, full page ad in the paper, at least once every 2 months. Carl, I've got a whole list of other things that happen as well.
Yeah.
But I'm consistently trying to make sure that our message is being delivered out in the marketplace, whether that's social media, whether that's through the letterbox, whether it's telephone, email, SMS. I try and cover all bases.
Yeah, and I think you have to. Like, when I interviewed Michael Spillane a few weeks back, they'd done a review of their clients and where they had come from, and they found that they had, I think it was something like 21 different sources that those leads had come in from, whether it was referral, letterbox drops, telemarketing, whatever it was, Facebook ads, all that sort of thing. There were so many different ones. And he said, you can't turn the tap off on any of them, because I think, I mentioned before, Tom Panos had said, when he talked about print media, and people say 86% of people are online, or nearly everyone's online. But, if you really want to get your message out there, it's about covering every aspect of where people might be looking, so that when they do look there, you're the one they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the individual agents need to take responsibility of that, Carl. The key for any agent that wants to write big fees is to have a really strong lead generation system. And if you can consistently have people that you're adding to your pipeline, to your database, that are thinking at some point in time to transact in real estate, you can have a really successful business. So my theory is I want to try and make sure we cover as many of those different mediums as possible. So our lead generation system is there, and then it's just a case of nurturing it, listing them, managing them, and selling them.
Do you spend a lot of time in your CRM? Because I know a lot of agents really struggle, and on the Facebook forums, it must be every other day someone says, "Oh, I'm changing my CRM. I don't like the one that I've got," and all this kind of stuff. How integral to your lead generation in your business is your CRM?
Carl, I don't spend a lot of time on it personally. I try and shy away from the computer. My emails are on my phone. All my contacts are on the phone. That's really about as far as I go. I know who I'm chasing, and the beauty about the CRM is those people that might be long-term sellers. I know that they're still getting all the market updates and information. So, we use Locked On. It's been a very successful transition, probably 3 or 4 years ago. The team are great. So it does everything that we need it to do. People say, "Oh, which CRM is the best?" Well, the one that you use. It's only as good as the information that you put in, the tasks that you set. You can set the world's best trails, but unless you do them, it means nothing.
That's right.
So, what I ensure is that it's making sure that it's touching those people that I've dealt with in the past. It's generates all our anniversary letters, so I don't have to worry about that. Quarterly reports go out, but in terms of picking up the phone, CRM's not going to do that. That's my responsibility.
Mm. And how do you find that? Because I think there's, I put a video out about it last week, and there's still a lot of agents say, "Oh, I hate picking up the phone, and I hate, do you get that anxiety, or is it for you like, you're just speaking to people?" Because for me, I'm not afraid of the phone because I just feel like I'm having a conversation. But I think when people build it up to this big sales script and they need to have these dialogues and objection handling and stuff like that, it becomes a big monolith that is so difficult to deal with. Where do you sit on the process?
Look, I think a lot of agents cause themselves grief and anxiety for absolutely no reason at all, Carl. That's part of our job, and our job is to speak to people to find out where they're at in terms of their plans. Are they prepared to make a move or wanting to make a move in the next 6, 12 months, 2, 3, 4 years? We've just got to find it out. It all starts with the phone call, just asking the right questions. It's being relaxed. I started in real estate. My job was to cold call, so that's what I pretty much did from 9 till 5, booking appraisals. So it's certainly not afraid of the phone. It's it's being able to engage with the client, find out where they're at, what solutions you have, and to offer some value. If you're able to do that, I find that the people at the other end of the phone are pretty receptive.
And so clear up for me, because again, there's this big debate going on. Telemarketing, does it still work for you today?
Of course it does. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's a touch point, Carl. It's being able to have a conversation. I'm able to find out a lot more about a prospective client's plans on the phone than I am by sending him an email or a text.
Yes. Yep.
It's conversations. From there, what I want to be able to do is try and get face to face, to be able to sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, to work out what their plans are, how I can help, and certainly put ourselves in a position to hopefully win the listing. It gets overcomplicated, I believe.
Okay, mate. Well, firstly, thank you for coming back. I know you had to shoot off for an appointment the other day, so really appreciate you taking the time to come back and finish off the interview.
Pleasure, mate. It's great to be back.
Good stuff. So first question I wanted to ask you, carrying on from where we left off before. One of the things that agents talk a lot about right now is the disruptors in the industry. And I wanted to get your view on the things like the Open Agent and Local Agent Finder and these different sites that are, I guess, coming in looking to take a slice of the pie with commission.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Big budgets behind them to get the audience eyes. How do you deal with that as an agency, and what are your practices around that?
Okay, look, the disruptors are coming in. They're going to continue to coming in because, as you said, they want a slice of the pie. So, they're here. They're relevant. They're certainly in our space. The one thing and the one advantage that we have is the relationships that we can build. So, look, it comes back to how you're able to generate your leads, how you're able to manage that data, and more importantly, how you're able to build the relationships. Open Agent, Agent Finder, all those different platforms mate, they're never going to be able to build the relationship that we're going to be able to build with the consumer. If we can do that correctly, then there's no need for them to call these third-party platforms. So look, build relationships. That's what I say to my guys all the time. If we can do that, well, we negate these third-party, services.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And so in terms of how you run your business, obviously we've talked a bit about the consistency, both in marketing and how you approach things. What does your average week look like? Do you sort of subscribe to this ideal week planner? Do you sort of run a paper diary? What's your process for staying organized?
Look, I don't run a paper diary, Carl. It's all on via my Outlook and so through my iPhone. I share calendars with my assistant and also with the team, so they know where I am pretty much every minute of the day. Look, our structure is pretty simple. It's it forms around our prospecting, our buyer management, our callbacks, our vendor management, our vendor meetings, sales meetings, sales training, Thursdays and Saturdays with open homes. So what I do is I put all my big rocks in at the start of the week. I know what I'm doing, and then I build my appointments around that. So what I love to do is, 1 or 2 nights a week, at least I'm out on the road in front of prospective clients doing listing presentations. The rest of the time is, managing our clients, the buyers, and more importantly, generating new leads and doing appraisals.
Okay, awesome. So there's a fair bit of structure there. It sounds like you're pretty regimented in how you go about things and make sure that you're not ducking and diving from one thing to another. You have your sort of set times and your set processes.
Absolutely, but it's not, the ideal week because, things can change. So look, as much as we can, we like to be organised and as a team with our roles. So yeah.
And speaking of change, what things are you sort of watching in the market to see what direction? Because obviously everyone's trying to, I guess, pick the next big thing or pick the direction the industry is going to go in. What's your thoughts around where things are going to go with real estate as an industry?
Look, I think it's going to change, Carl. There's no doubt. Even over the last couple of years, the landscape has certainly changed, and technology plays a big part in that. And there are these third-party companies that are coming in to take a slice of the pie. So look, our job is to protect that. What do I foresee that may happen and change in the future? More of these companies come in. Obviously, we've got the REAs of the world, depending on how hard they want to go, and whether or not they will, look to really start leveraging their database. I think will determine, that could be the biggest change that we see in the industry because, look, they've got the strength. But look, what I say is the industry is going to change. One thing that can't change is our ability to build relationships with the clients in our marketplace. We continue to do that. We offer great service. We keep them up to date. Then we're always going to get those opportunities.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree. I think that, the exchange or the transaction of real estate and property is still a very stressful thing for people to deal with. It's still something that requires negotiation. It requires, it requires that sort of people management and that people understanding and empathy. And I don't think the general public anytime soon are going to be ready to take care of that process by themselves. So I think the agent that builds relationships and nurtures that relationship is always going to have a place in that transaction.
100%, Carl. They'll have a successful business, I believe, because people want to deal with people. And, we're able to, to hold their hand, to show that empathy, the understanding throughout that process. But more importantly, the relationship can start 2, 3, 4 years, prior, even longer, where you build that trust. And that's hard to do, on an online platform or a phone call to one of these third-party services. People want to deal with good people.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know within the Barry Plant Group that you're quite a giving person, and you sort of provide a lot of mentoring and training. Who do you look up to and sort of look to for advice and mentorship and training?
Look, a lot of people within the group as well, Carl, and I've built some really good relationships with senior agents within Barry Plant. One of my really good mates is also a very successful agent, so we're always bouncing ideas off each other. Within the industry, look, you can't go past, Matt Steinway and John McGrath the great man Tom Panos. So look, they're probably, three really gun trainers and agents that I look towards. And there's so much great content out there, Carl, with YouTube and even Facebook, that the leaders are offering some great training and mentorship. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's very underutilized right now. I saw a post the other day about there was a woman who had built her entire house off of YouTube videos. So the amount of content that is now out there, and look, people like Tom and John McGrath and Matt Steinwade and all the rest are really giving in the information they give up. They don't hold anything back. They're completely open about their processes, about how they approach things. I think if agents take that time to go through the learning, and that's what I've found speaking to a number of trainers is, these trainers tend to deal with the same people, because it's only the sort of top 5% that actually take the time to learn, and the rest are just kind of floating on, not actually taking advantage of all of the stuff that's around them.
Yeah, 100%. And Carl, it's all in the implementation. Nothing that these guys say on a daily basis, we probably haven't heard before, but the top 5-10%, they actually do something with it. So the implementation is the key.
Absolutely. And, I've been to many of the conferences where, James Tossovan's talked or Chris Gilmore's talked, and all these guys say is pick up the phone, letterbox drop. None of it is, it's not sort of like revolutionary, but it's just they do it.
Exactly. James Tostovan, he's, about, building consistent contact with his database. And that's his formula. We've all heard it, but how many people actually implement it? Not many. No, that's why he's number one and the best.
Absolutely. So, John, what's next for you? What are you looking to do over the next sort of, 5 to 10 years of your career? Are you looking to grow your team? Are you looking to open more offices? What's the plan?
Look, we're always looking to bring on new people. So, what I'd love to see over the next sort of 5 to 10 years is substantial growth within the Barry Plant Blackburn team. Whether that's more offices, that's a possibility. But certainly, grow the strength of our team. That's our number one priority, definitely. And obviously with that, build market share.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. I think you've really, the value that you've imparted and how open you've been about your process and your, rise to success. And, for anyone who's watching this now, any of the young guns out there that are looking to learn from another young gun, I really recommend get in touch with John. He's very, very open to chatting with other agents and, providing, a platform for them to, move on in their career or even people getting into the industry. So, John, mate, thank you again so much for taking the time.
Cal, my absolute pleasure, mate. Great to chat. Thanks for your time.